Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the BAMF video store. Cyburn Zombie here, and it's Friday, and I have another recommendation for you. And I'm going to get through this one real quick, but I want to start out here. I'm going to give you the synopsis of the movie, and you try to tell me what movie I'm going to recommend to you. So, it takes place in New York City. It takes place with a doctor who has these strange mystical and magical powers. And he wears this really badass amulet around his neck. He's using those powers to stop the forces of evil who also use magic against him to stop the end of the world. Sounds very familiar, right? I think you know what it is. But I'm not talking about that movie. I'm talking about 1992's Dr. Mordrid, starring Jeffrey Combs. This movie is badass. And yes, I know it sounds a lot like Doctor Strange, but this movie came out before that movie. Okay, the comic books have been out since the 60s. Okay, those guys that made this movie probably read those comic books and went, hey, we should make a movie on that. And they did. And this movie is really good. It's badass. For an early 90s movie, it has really good special effects for a lower budget movie. It's got a really cool story, and it's got Jeffrey Combs, and it's got Jeffrey Combs as like this leading man hunk, kind of like sexy dude, not like your wormy like Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West or like really creepy wormy dude that he was in The Frighteners. This is Jeffrey Combs like up front and center, just being a badass and being really handsome while he does it. So, what is this movie about? Well, it is basically what it is, like I said in the beginning, but the story of this is so cool. So, Dr. Mordrid and his brother, Cabal, are kids, and they're taught the ways of like magic and mysticism and Sorcerer Supreme. And, of course, because, like, you know, it's just what happens in these stories, Cabal wants to go bad, and Dr. Mordrid says, I'm going to take the good. You know, the good, the bad, the up, the down. Well, Cabal is going to use everything in his power to bring upon the end of the world. And Dr. Mordrid's not going to just sit around and let that happen. So, over the course of hundreds of years, they fight each other, and they finally come to the end of this epic battle, and Cabal is imprisoned. And he's imprisoned, and about 150 years later, he escapes and just picks right up where he left off. And he's out there, he's stealing diamonds, he's stealing radioactive material, he's stealing blood, all to make this alchemist potion through the Philosopher's Stone to bring upon the end of the world. Well, again, Dr. Mordrid, 150 years later, is still not going to stand around and do nothing about it. He's been on Earth for over 100 years and just guarding Earth from any kind of evil that comes about. So, when Cabal comes back, Dr. Mordrid needs a bit of help. So, he goes to Monitor, who is just these two eyes that just kind of float in the sky, and he gives Dr. Mordrid advice, and Dr. Mordrid kind of like tells him of like what's been going on Earth and everything like that. It's a very like Mork calling Orson, come in Orson from Mork and Mindy kind of deal, and it works. It's pretty cool. So Dr. Mordrid meets this woman who is a police consultant, and she is like well versed in like the occult, demonology, supernatural, all that stuff. So the cops hire her to help out in cases that they can't solve. You know, kind of like Sean Spencer coming in and just like, you know, saying like, oh, this is what you need to know, and she solves the crime. But the cops here are just a bunch of a-holes. They never give her the credit that she deserves. They constantly like just put her down and everything like that. Like they're just a bunch of scum. You know, like they're cops. They're trying to get the case closed and everything like that, but they're just not nice guys. So she teams up with Dr. Mordrid, and they are going to work together to bring Cabal down. And Cabal is played by Brian Thompson, who he played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the second Mortal Kombat movie. Not the best, not the greatest. There's a couple cool parts in that, but most of that movie is not great. But still, go out and watch it if you want to. There's still, like I said, there's some cool parts in it. But anyway, back to Dr. Mordrid. So it's up to Dr. Mordrid and his friend to stop the end of the world from Cabal. Cabal uses a couple of like punks that he's found, and he gives them some superpowers. There is like a scene in the movie where it kind of feels out of place. Like the girl like gets naked for this kind of like sacrifice deal. Because this movie probably could have just been like a PG-13, but the way it is, I think there's a couple like, swear words and stuff in it, but they just have this like nude scene. It's about a half hour in, so just be warned when you're watching this that that's exactly the scene that your significant other is going to walk in and go, "What are you watching?" Because there's nothing like that in the rest of the movie at all, but that's always the time that they want to walk right in. So anyway, Dr. Mordrid needs to figure out a way to stop his brother from bringing upon the end of the world, and it is awesome. So this movie right now is streaming on Amazon through that freebie. It's also on the Roku channel, and I think it's on Tubi. It's kind of everywhere right now. So go check it out. It is a badass movie. It's a fun movie. It really is. It's a lot of fun watching this movie. There's a really cool fight scene at the end. It is really cool. I don't want to give away. I don't like giving the ending away of all these movies. I want you to go watch them, and then when you come back and you want to talk about it, I'm right here. Let's talk about the movie. It took me a long time to try to record this video. My cat loves Jeffrey Combs, and he knew I was talking about Jeffrey Combs, so he just kept meowing and meowing and meowing. He's finally quiet right now, so I was able to get this thing recorded. So let's wrap it up, and let's talk next week. I have another recommendation coming next week. Thank you again to everybody who's watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for following. I love you all. Let's talk about movies all day. I can do it all day. It's what I'm here for. It's what they brought me back for. Till next week, let's rewind and be kind. Thanks, everybody.